Here's the problem with making technology run our world. Just read another ebook on our new society and what's the better direction to go into, and technology is the way to go. And just in reading this little book, it's like you can go and get an education, but what's your education going to do for you? All you can do in an economy where um, industry, technology is the dominating force, the only thing you can do for an education is to make changes within those robots. Now, those robots are being trained not to listen to a word you got to say. So that's sort of like the dilemma, is as soon as you build a system that is completely controlled by automation and robots, these robots won't listen to you because they're designed by humans that don't know how to listen to other people. So, that's going to be designed in this new technology type world you want to create. You're going to create robots that don't know how to listen. All aspects of our technology is nothing but a reflection of who we are. If we don't know how to be better human beings, trust without a doubt, you're going to build a technology that's going to reflect your own insanity. Um, why are you born? I mean, what is the purpose of you being on this planet? Is it to, get everything free? You're just a zombie that, give me something free, then all you are is a consumer. That you're just sitting around consuming, consuming, consuming. You're going to get yourself real fat. You're going to get yourself out of shape, because you don't have anything that gives you a drive to do anything. You're born on this planet with a special skill, and that skill needs to be unfolded. You have an energy force. That energy force needs to be expressed, and not expressed by consuming. It's by serving. You need to feel like you have a purpose in this world. You need to feel that you contribute to this world. And if you build a world where technology is building it for you, you take away humanity's value. You take away the meaning of your life, the purpose you were born on the planet. It drives me freaking crazy that our change is about doing more of everything that's wrong. Um, Farmers love farming. They would do it for nothing. It's their passion. But that opportunity was taken away from them by technology. It didn't provide any food for anybody, although we have a surplus of food. Um, we need some form of an exchange of energy. Every human being has an energy force, and when you put out that energy force out into the world, there should be a value for it. And we put money there. We put money there for a purpose, to exchange the value of the labor that we put out into the world. Now, those on the bottom, the lower slaves, have never ever put a value on their labor. They just, are sheep guiding, some rich guy says, I can make a lot of money off of you doing all of this labor. And you're so happy just to get a little bit that you're not willing to say, no, I'm worth a lot more. We've kind of seen that with our factories, and we build unions, but I belong to some of those unions, and those unions are exactly the same as management. They basically are owned by management, that you have to pay them a fee. They don't tend to listen to you, and at the end of the day, we haven't made anything work. They're just an argument. They're nobody's resolving any issues with unions, because if we were, then workers would get paid, what their value is. And basically all that we're doing is, you have a union, the worker says that I want to make more money, so the only way you're going to win is if they increase the price of whatever the product is that you're making, and then push that on to society. So products are now overpriced, and you're still getting, proportionately the same amount of money as management. Management will give themselves a raise and they'll give you a raise, but ultimately the price of that product has now gone up and it's passed on to the consumer. And eventually you make your product so obsolete nobody can afford it. So everybody in the game loses. When we see change is when, the worker ends up making more money and the CEO is making less money, and make it a little bit more equal. But we've never known how to create that. And that is what we need to be focused on, is those at the bottom need to say that they're worth something. You need to find out where your worth is, and you need to proclaim it out into the world that, hey, I'm worth this much. Who wants it? Somebody is always going to be there that wants something you have to give them. And when you design a world that's created by, a robot, the robot does not want to hear what you've got to offer. It believes it's everything. So that you're going to take away your own value. You're not going to have any reason to wake up in the morning. The reason I get up every morning is to share information. I happen to love sharing information and maybe inspiring a different direction. I do it for free. If it helps one person, that's the bonus. That's the paycheck, is, knowing that I'm putting something good out into the world. If you take that away from me, what do I have left? Okay, you're going to give me, free stuff? Well, guess what? I got free stuff right now. I get a friggin' welfare check every friggin' month that tells me that they don't want me to work. That tells me, hey, you're disabled, just take your check and keep your mouth shut. Okay, so I'm enjoying the simple life. Not everything is free, but you know what? I got a beautiful beach out there that, we've had a beautiful summer, and I go down to the beach to try and enjoy that sun. I used to really enjoy sitting out in the sun. I can't do that anymore. I can't go out there and just enjoy the beach. It's because there's nothing else going on in my life. I used to enjoy the beach when I needed to relax. But now I got relaxing happening 24/7 that I'm sort of sick of relaxing. I need some purpose. I need some value. I would rather leave the beach and go and do something that makes me feel like I've got something to offer the world. So this is going to happen to everybody, is that you can eventually say, okay, this is my life. I'm supposed to live off nothing and, try and enjoy, the very little that, this robot world wants me to have. But, it ain't exactly all that free, like it's the same system over and over and over again. You cannot take away somebody's meaning out of life and then expect them to live in a world that makes us all feel like it's all meaningful. We've got to unfold the meaning to everyone individually. We have to unfold the value that everybody has individually. And when we can do that, when we can see the value of every single human being on this planet, then we unfold change, and the change that we should be going to. So that's why I'm heavily against any robot controlling my society. Because if you don't see what's coming down the road, it'll be too late for you. And you're going to, have everything that's free, but it won't, all pleasure will be taken away if you have no meaning in your life. You have to get up every day and feel like you're contributing. If you don't feel like you're contributing, then you're going to get yourself really depressed. You'll lose the meaning for your life. Nobody's going to want to have more kids. We're just going to end up dying because the world will be even more painful, because the joy you get is out of what you can contribute. And then they've got this concept of volunteerism. Volunteerism is another form of slavery, but it's the perfect way of brainwashing you into doing work for nothing. Um, Although volunteerism is a way to get a new society started, but volunteerism is a way to perpetuate problems. We don't want to look at the problem, so we're going to pretend it doesn't exist and put a band-aid. That's what volunteerism is. Nobody's interested in solving the causes of why you need to do something for nothing. So I believe in donating your time, but donate your time in a way that you end up getting some value for the time you put into it. You should be, in my opinion, you should be doing what you love doing and find a way to get paid for it, because that's your ultimate way of getting value and meaning in your life that sustains your life, that pays for the food, that you are putting something out into the world and you're getting something back in return. Just some thoughts. Peace out.